Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 145. Today it's PlayStation's 30th anniversary, so we're going to be reminiscing some of our favorite Sony games and generations and vibes and general. Plus, Elden Ring 2 might not be happening. We're going to talk about it. All of this and more right here with my beautiful friends. The gamble worth taking, GWT Maury. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Dude, I'm great, man. I'm honored to be back. It was great. We're just throwing stuff around at the beginning. We're going to talk about it a little bit today. I'm excited. There's a lot to cover.
There's a lot to cover. Yeah. And also joining me today from the JK Games podcast, Kay herself, Kayla. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Doing good. Ready to talk about some, I'm not going to spoil my favorite console, but I'm ready to talk about some PlayStation games. That's for sure.
Go. We have a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays, normally at 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitch.tv. But today we're starting a little late on Twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. But if you follow us there, you're going to be notified when we go live, so you can join us to be part of the conversation. Spotlight Game Stream return 2 times this week. Obviously, we're here right now, but tomorrow night, Rose and I are streaming a game we've still not decided on. We keep forgetting to talk about it. We're going to play something. We've thrown around some late game Stardew Valley because the last time we streamed Stardew, we started a new farm with mods. I was zooming around with speed up to 10. So maybe we'll do some late game stuff. Who's to say? But we'll announce it tomorrow on socials. And then Thursday, 2 days from today, if you're here live, just like Jake twitching is my dirty dog, just like Pinksy Gaming is. Thursday, your favorite video essayist, Cognitive Clips, is coming by. He's gonna try. He's gonna try to teach me how to enjoy Game of the Year hopeful Animal Well. It's a tall order. I tried this game. It didn't click for me. I've kind of hated it.
Yeah,
I hated it.
I kind of hated it. I kind of low-key hated it. However, my sister 100%ed the game.
Wow.
Cognitive has 100% of the game on multiple platforms. And so, you know what? Patrick is going to give it the old Cognitive try. I'm going to do my best to like Animal Well. I'm kind of at a point where I think I just don't like 2D Metroidvania type games anymore. I used to, but like the last 3 or 4 just haven't clicked for me. One that you're going to talk about, Maury, I tried. We'll get to it. I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Okay.
But
did you try Sea of Stars?
Yeah, different vibe, I would say. I liked Sea of Stars a lot. Actually, that's not true. I liked it fine. I didn't like it a lot.
I'm sorry.
I did enjoy it.
I have to ask, were you about to say Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown didn't work for you?
Yo, I tried.
Dog, nah, bro. Nah.
Yes, that was one I finally had to say goodbye to. I tried 3 or 4 separate times. I got my PlayStation Portal, which more you and I have not talked about, I don't think.
No, we've not.
It's fucking incredible. Wow. It's so good. Worth every penny. I think everybody, if you have good internet, should go get a PlayStation Portal. Yeah. But I was like, this feels like a game made for the Portal. Didn't have an ounce of lag. It was perfect. It felt like I was playing it native, and it just couldn't work for me. Couldn't click.
Okay,
which is upsetting.
Now we got to do a stream together.
Maybe we do.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Maybe we do. Man. But yeah. So tomorrow night, game TBA. Thursday night, he's in the chat now. He's going to be here again Thursday at 8 p.m.
Nice.
Plays Animal Well, Cognitive Clips. Welcome in, Jordan. Thanks for being here. But it's Spotlight Games. It's Tuesday. We got to start our show. We're 4 minutes in. And what do we do here to start our show? We talk about what we've been playing.
We sure do.
I'm going to be a generous host.
Generous.
And let one of you start with what you've been playing. Are either of you just, you're ready to talk about what you've been playing?
I feel like Maury's itching.
No, I was about to say you take it, but I'll take it.
Maury, take it away. What you been playing?
I'll take it away. So the thing I've been playing the most recently, because for those of you that don't know, I got my PC finally. Woo! Oh my god, right here. It's so sexy.
Oh wow, it's in the background right there.
It's just
speaking of your PC, Jaskrin in the chat, who has helped you some with your PC. Jacob, thanks for being here.
Yeah. You know what, Patrick? I was getting there, but I'll take my layup, folks. Jaskrin in the chat. Listen, I just got to say this real quick. If you guys don't know, Jaskrin knows about the PCs. He knows about the drivers. He knows about the install update. He knows all
Driver
this.
Daddy.
Driver Daddy is now your official name. The Driver Daddy saved me in my hour of need. I bought my PC, got it like 3 days back, and was like, yo, I don't have any idea what's going on. Jaskrin walked me through every single thing. So shout out to Jaskrin. I have not been able to get off of this, and I've been playing a ton of Deadlock, right? This is Valve's new MOBA. So if you've played a game like Smite or League of Legends, you have an idea of what this is. Growing up, I loved TF2. I would play it all the time at my best friend James' house. So I've always loved what Valve creates. I love what they've, done, but I've never gotten to engage with it. And so to be on the money with this game, to be here day one, playing Deadlock, day one is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's fairly recent. I've loved every experience, every minute, every hour. I think I've put 20 hours into Deadlock already.
Wow, 20
Nice.
already.
Ungodly, Patrick. Ungodly. I can't put it down. It's great. It's great. The gunplay feels great. It's a third-person shooter and a MOBA. Like, it's equally both. I think a lot of times MOBAs are just MOBAs. This has all of the same things that you would see in a third-person shooter, right? Like, you have to be able to aim. There are some MOBAs where you don't. You can just swing an axe. That's not this game. You got to be able to aim. You got to be able to hit your shots. You got to be able to hit the head, right? It's a great time. I love pushing a lane. I've been running a lot of Kelvin and a lot of Wraith. So I've played a lot of Deadlock. And then in my off time, when I've not been playing Deadlock, I've been playing a bit of a new title. As a diehard Souls fan, Soulsborne Games fan, something we might talk about later, who's to say, right? I've been playing a lot of Nine Souls, which is, dude, it looks so good, Kayla.
This
it's
is beautiful.
Oh, dude, and this animation here, this is like the opening animation of the game. It just cut away, but it's just so good. It's like a 2D Soulsborne game. Probably closest to Sekiro, a lot of focus on parrying, but I love it. I love the 2D side scrolling. I love the combat. I like the world so far. The story is interesting. I like the mechanics a lot. People are calling it Kitty Sekiro. I agree. It is Kitty Sekiro. And I love this game. I've probably put 2 hours in. I will probably put an ungodly amount more into this game. So that's been my recent shenanigans.
I want to play Deadlock with you. I forgot about Deadlock. A friend of mine who's not been on the show before was pitching me on Deadlock like a month and a half ago. And in fact, the B-roll that you might have seen if you're watching either live or later right here on youtube.com/@SpotlightGameSpot, there isn't a trailer for this game because it was just like shadow dropped by Valve. And there were and so I was just like clicking through a gameplay recording essentially from like IGN or GameSpot or something. But yeah, it looks really cool. And I've never been a MOBA guy. Wow. I don't really understand how they work. So I'll be starting at the ground level with this.
Negative ground.
Also, I got a quick tangent. We are about at hype level status right here on twitch.tv/SpotlightGameSpot. High Score Weekly with a sub, Cognitive Clips with a sub. High Score Weekly just dropped 100 bits.
Wow,
it's
that's
happening.
a JK
Join
fan.
the hype train. It's happening. Wow. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the sub, y'all. We love it. We thank you. Ad-free viewing. How about that? Money, right?
We love to
right
see
in our
it.
pockets, not in Jeff Bezos' pockets. You know what I'm saying? Kayla, what about you? What have you been playing?
Okay, so I've been playing a decent amount. I actually thought of something else that I've been playing after we had kind of discussed. But first and foremost, something that me and you have been playing simultaneously, Life is Strange Double Exposure.
Oh yeah,
is something that I have been playing. I'm a big Life is Strange fan. I've played a decent amount. I've played the first Life is Strange that's the one we're talking about right now. Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Yep.
I started Life is Strange 2 this year. I've played True Colors. So I've played a decent amount and I've enjoyed all of them. This game so far is very visually absolutely stunning.
It's really pretty.
My little old PC is struggling just a little bit, like with some screen tearing, but I've messed around with the settings and kind of gotten it to a better spot, but did have a little bit of strugs, but that's not the game's fault. That's on me. So the beautiful game. I think some of the additions that they've made. Have you played? What Life is Strange games have you played?
So I've played 1. I don't think I ever played 2 because 2 is like all new characters, right?
It is, yeah.
I never played 2. I believe I played part of, if not all of, Before the Storm, and then I loved True Colors. True Colors was like a top 5 game for me that year that it came out. I liked Life is Strange 1 fine. Rose and I played it way back in the day. when it was on PS3, I think.
I think so,
originally.
yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
Speaking of.
So I've always, speaking of, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. I've always liked Life is Strange, but True Colors was the game that kind of took it to another level for me. So I was very excited going into Double Exposure. But you continue, and I'll chime in.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with what kind of game this is, it's a narrative-driven, like choice-based, butterfly effect type of game, and all of the games are like this, where your actions and your choices have reactions that affect your actual outcome and decisions that the other characters make. I love everything about that. Like that very customized like narrative experience is very interesting to me. I will say my only critique, which I mean I'm sure we'll be able to discuss in a little bit, is I do think that the kind of like each game has a little bit of a different gimmick. Sounds bad, but like a shtick, like a thing that is happening, because a lot of the characters have like almost like emotional powers in a way. Like Max can manipulate time. That's not like a spoiler, really.
Yeah, for sure.
This is all kind of. Well, my critique is kind of hard to say without giving spoilers, but.
I think we can at least like talk about, because the general premise of the game I think is known from trailers, where in the first game Max could rewind time. In this game there's like two timelines happening simultaneously, and Max's power this time is being able to go between the timelines.
True.
And kind of like talk to people, change things in one timeline where a thing has happened, and in another timeline where a thing has not happened. We won't spoil the thing that happens, but that's kind of the basic premise.
Yeah, and I think the story is really cool. Like there's a mystery that's trying to be solved, and like I love revisiting these characters that we know and love. But I do think the going back and forth between the timelines was really cool at first, but now I feel like it almost is like repetitive a little bit.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's cool and like it makes sense, but I do think it's like something needs to be added in, which I guess I should say there's 5 total chapters. I just started chapter 3.
Okay. I'm about halfway through chapter 3. So we're about at the same.
About the same. So I feel like hopefully something could be added additional and like something kind of just like thrown in, which that one mystery element did pop up that was really kind of a little bit shocking to me. And so I hope that they play on that and kind of change.
Are you talking end of chapter 2? We won't talk spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed.
That was really cool.
Yeah. So here's my thing with the game. Overall, I'm liking it fine, but I am disappointed. I was expecting like 9 status for this game, just based on like trailer vibes, but like the critical reception for this game has been very torn. There's been people giving it 9s, there've been people giving it like 5s. So it's kind of been straddling that kind of line there. For me, like you said, I agree. Visually, it's really pretty to look at. Huge step up for Life is Strange in general. Although in ways I do feel like True Colors kind of looks better because of like art style,
right?
Instead of like graphical fidelity.
But I think that Square Enix, did they do True Colors or was that Deck 9?
I think Square Enix did True Colors and this is Deck 9, I think.
Yeah.
But my bigger issue is the game is just like it shouldn't be as clunky as it is. And I think what you were just saying about like how it's feeling repetitive going back and forth now, I feel like that's a really big part of it, where it gets to a point, again, without spoiling, it gets to a point where going back and forth with the power starts to feel like a chore, as opposed to, I really want to get to the other place to go do this thing. It's like, now I have to go and talk to this person or find this thing or whatever. And like, it's starting to feel kind of like rote to me already. The only thing kind of pushing me forward is the overall mystery, like you said.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep playing it, but so far I'm a bit surprised that for a game where, and I don't mean this as a slight, but for a game where all you do is walk around and talk to people. Yeah. I kind of can't believe how slow the game is.
Okay. So it feels the same to you. Playing, what are you playing it on?
I'm playing on PS5.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm playing on PC. So that it's not just me that it's experiencing that. I was just assuming that it had to do with my like a little bit of an older setup, but it sounds like that's universal.
I think like the game can be choppy at times, and the game can also just like walking around is so slow, and like it feels like an unreasonable criticism, but like for a game where there's already no action, it's just talking to people, it's just interacting with objects, it's choosing dialogue choices.
Yeah.
It's really like it would have even like one small thing that I think could have improved this game is like in Dragon Age, as an example, you can, if you're playing with subtitles and you've read it all and you want to jump to the next line, you can do that. You can't do that in this game. So it's like,
Yeah.
there are just so many things where I just feel like it's forcing me to sit still. And I'm like, oh, I want to interact with this game. I want to move at my own speed, and it's not letting me. And that's frustrating.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I'm not telling people not to play this game, especially if you're a fan of the franchise. Like, I do think like this, you should play this game, and it is still a good game. But yes, I have critiques, and those are, I 100% agree. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Jake Twitchen did say, can we all agree that Max is a certified baddie now? And she is.
Oh,
honestly.
totally a baddie.
Her evolution has been great. Like, I love kind of like the place that she's in now versus where we started with her in the games. 100%.
Agreed. Also, speaking of Jake Twitchen, gifted a sub. The hype train has been hit, and also our sub goal has been hit. He's a legend. He's a king. He's so handsome. If you don't already, go follow twitch.tv/Jake Twitchen. Speaking of baddies, if I can say
that. God, he is so fine. Fuck.
God. Kayla, but so yeah, I think we're aligned in that we're enjoying our time. We think if you're interested, you should play it, but there's issues with the game.
Right. Yes. That's my kind of like overall thoughts as of right now. Now could my mind be changed? Absolutely. Well,
Sure.
Maybe not about some of the foundational things, but I'm curious to see where the story goes. I 100% am going to finish it. I think that you should play this game if you like Life is Strange.
Kayla, what else are you playing? And then I need to take some clothes off because I'm burning up. But
I'm so glad you asked because let me put you onto this game, Luma Island, guys. It is absolutely beautiful. Look at this. Tell me what about this you don't want to be involved in? Look at that little camper. So basically, if you know me, I'm notorious for finding like indie kind of like crafting / farming games. In this one in particular, it actually came out not long ago, like 2 weeks ago. And it is made by Feel Free Games. It is a little small developer. I think this is the only thing they've made so far, if I remember correctly. Yes, this is their first game. I love the art style. I love the kind of little adventures that you can go on. You can collect these like different lumas, which these like magical creatures. So not only do you have like the typical farming and crafting and just really like standard things that you would like of building your kind of like outpost. You also can go into caves, kind of similar to Stardew Valley. You can go on different missions. You can collect these magical things like I was talking about, and there's like different treasure elements. So I could not recommend this game more. It is on sale, I believe. Right? Yes. Normally it's $20. It's on sale right now on Steam for $16. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you can play this on other consoles. Unfortunately, I don't know, but I love this game so far. I've already sunk probably I just got this like recently. I've probably played already 5 hours or so.
Maybe this might be streamed tomorrow night on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamespot. Who knows?
Wow.
I mean, I think you guys would love it. You can play, I think you can play multiple people. I think online co-op.
How about that?
Look at that. So you guys should play this game if you are interested in any of the things I just mentioned.
Hell yeah. Did you say, because I had my headphones off for a minute when I was derobing, is this early access, full release?
Full release. It came out on November 20th of this year. So it's also a new relish. New relish. You should play it. It's really good.
Hell yeah. Love that. So I have a couple things to report. Also, did I get darker to you guys? Is my whole vibe, like my lights, am I darker to y'all?
You took a layer off and it got darker in there.
Yeah. Really? Goodness gracious. Oh, well. A couple things to report. For those of you that have been following along with Patrick's backyard baseball journey, Backyard Soccer was just released, which, if you aren't aware, this is another game from the late 90s. It's like a point and click sports game with a lovable cast of characters from the Backyard Sports franchise. And having a great time with it. It works lovingly on Steam Deck with the little touchpad, mouse pad thing. Having a great time. Just let in my first goal after like 15 matches. This game, even on hard, so much easier than Backyard Baseball. I might end up going back to Backyard Baseball because that actually has some challenge to it. But at some point, we need to do a backyard stream. Jake and I have tossed around some ideas, but it needs to happen because it has been such a blast from the fucking past. Have either of you ever played a backyard game? Was this after your oh, Kayla, you've played Backyard before?
I have. Isn't there a basketball one?
There's basketball, hockey. I think basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball, I think are the 4. And then there's like multiple releases of each of them.
I've played the basketball
Hell
one.
yeah.
I don't know what year or whatever exactly, but I did play it, and I do remember it being very, very fun, and I loved the characters.
It's just so like joyous and so like, I don't know. There's something like very nostalgic about it for me because I mean, before I really started gaming with a capital G, the Backyard franchise was one of my most played franchises as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I put so many hours in like summertime in the basement on the computer, just days lost to Backyard baseball or whatever. Got AIM in the corner, messaging, probably catfishing people as like an 11-year-old.
Unreal.
Playing Backyard sports. So good.
Unreal.
So I played a lot of that.
Legend.
Very good. I also played and finished entirely on my portal Neva. I think it's Neva.
I think it's
from the people that made Gree.
Yeah.
Now I forget too. Is it Gree? Gree?
I think it's Gree.
Great.
I think it's great.
What a beautiful game. If this is on your radar, absolutely you need to play it. This is going to be in my top 10 for sure. I don't know that it'll crack the top 5, but I think almost without a doubt, the prettiest game I've ever played in my life. Like the art style in this game is astounding. Like I am not really one to screen record. I was like running up my fucking storage with this game. The amount of time like 70 something, which for me, it might as well be 1 million screenshots of this game. It's just every fucking frame is a piece of art. It's so pretty. I had like qualms with it. Some of the combat was very frustrating, but just the vibe in general. And like, I would die for Neva.
Yeah,
I would do horrible things if anyone would try to take Neva away from me. So go play Neva if this is the kind of game for you, if you're watching the B-roll. And then I also have a dumpster dive to report. Now, here's the thing. I want to be clear. I don't think the dumpster boy is here in the chat today, but if he comes and listens later, I am massaging the rules of a dumpster dive. I'm stretching the rules ever so slightly of what can qualify as a dumpster dive, because typically we like to keep a dumpster dive like $10 or below, or like for free streaming. The game I'm about to talk about, full price is $19.99.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll find it for like $15 on sales. So we're stretching the rules a little bit, but I think this game otherwise completely qualifies.
This looks like it qualifies already.
This game is called Crow Country. This is essentially, there's no sensuality in this game, at least.
I don't know. The way she was walking had me convinced for a second.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. She's a guy. It's basically like a PS1-esque Resident Evil game. You play as Maya or Mara. I forget. I think it might say right here in the trailer, Mara. And it's like you're south of Atlanta. This one's for ATL stand up. At this theme park called Crow Country. And there's some ominous shit going down. And
love ominous shit.
It has like tanky controls like you'd expect from that era. Obviously, if you're watching the video version, you see the graphics, but it's got the puzzles, it's got the action, it's got the like survival horror, not having enough bullets like at any given point. You have your health kits. You have like you're tracking your health, all those kind. Like it has everything that makes a Resident Evil game, and it is so good. I'm having such a great time with it. I keep getting pulled away for other things, but I absolutely will be finishing this game. And it did come out this year, so this might also crack the top 10. Wow. This might be a late game sleeper hit for Patrick.
Okay,
but if that kind of game is your vibe. If a couple years ago you played Signalis, it's giving huge Signalis vibes, which was one of my favorite games from that year. Really love it. That one also very Resident Evil, but it's like total over the top, more like 2D animation style. But really good. If you like survival horror, you should play both Signalis and Crow Country. But for the sake of this podcast, we're saying today Crow Country.
Dumpster dive, that qualifies, I feel.
Yeah, I think we're gonna qualify it as the dumpster dive with a little asterisk because it's a little more expensive than normal. Any other games that y'all want to talk about before we jump into our first topic of the show?
No, I think the only thing for me is I've been playing the new Fortnite season, which is actually really fun.
Dude,
it's actually really fun.
I still need to jump in. I still haven't made time, and I love Fortnite.
In.
Dude, drop in.
Go. Eyes. Yeah, I was telling Jake, who was streaming Fortnite the other day, I have never gotten fully into Fortnite, but anytime I play it, I have a great time.
Yeah.
But I make sure to only ever play on the Switch because that's where babies play. And I can actually win if I play on the Switch. The few times that I've tried playing on a PlayStation, couldn't die faster.
Oh, it's some sweat. It's some sweat.
It's horrible.
It's me sweaty on the keyboard.
I can get some W's in Fortnite. We should all play Fortnite one time together. That'd be really fun.
That'd be great.
We can 4-stack. You can do 4. That'd be fun.
That's true. Maybe we can drop in, drop out together as a group.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, next up. So we're going to start this next topic as a group together, watching a trailer, watching an advertisement. Actually, it's not really a trailer.
God,
it's the 30th anniversary for PlayStation.
Yes.
If you don't know, now you know. The PlayStation 1 came out 30 years ago this month, I believe. And there's a 30th anniversary PlayStation Portal, which I've already shown on the show because that's what I bought. There's a 30th anniversary PlayStation 5 remote. There's a 30th anniversary PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. Now there's a 30th anniversary theme. There's a little boot up sound, which is beautiful, by the way. And now there is also a 30th anniversary advertisement. That is just the hypest fucking thing ever made. So we're going to watch it. And then we're going to talk about 30 years of PlayStation together. We're going to share memories, reminisce, that kind of thing. But let's start with a little group watch. Grab your popcorn, grab your Twizzlers. Let's watch this together. Already got chills.
Crying already.
We can choose to be happy, but not at any cost.
It's about family.
Family.
This remix is so good. Infamous in the chat. That's
yes, dude.
You bad dance.
It's about you. Oh, like
so good.
Like fuck off.
LFG. Yeah. LFG.
It goes so much harder than it has any right going.
Yes.
If you were only listening, go over to it's like on all their socials. It's the 30th anniversary, like thank you trailer or something like that. If you search 30th anniversary PlayStation trailer, it'll come up. It's just so hype. We got Last of Us, we got Uncharted, we got Infamous, a lot of deep cuts. We got Parappa the Rapper. Like
Ape Escape.
Ape Escape. What a great way to fucking kick off the 30th anniversary. I mean, not kick off. They've been doing 30th anniversary stuff for a while, but I guess maybe to kind of put a bow on it instead. So good. So what we're going to talk about today, 30s of PlayStation, we're going to kind of talk about what jumps out for us in the history of PlayStation. Certain generations, certain games. We're going to go through the timeline, whether we played it, whether we had it, that kind of thing. So we'll start where it all began, the PlayStation 1. Anyone here today ever own a PlayStation 1?
No,
I did not.
I'm a
I
baby.
feel like we should give our ages at the beginning of
Yeah.
Sure. So I didn't own a PlayStation because, like High Score Weekly in the chat, I grew up a Nintendo kid myself. And
me too.
then at first, once like PlayStation once Xbox came out, we got an Xbox. It wasn't until college that I got my own PlayStation. However, I had friends that had PlayStations next door, and I borrowed some PlayStations in high school. So I have like PlayStation 1 was the first PlayStation console I played. I just never owned one. So I don't have a ton of PlayStation 1 memories, but I do have a few. There is one that I might have talked about on this show before. Have either of you ever heard of the game Brave Fencer Musashi?
I have not.
So it's a
Look it up,
game.
though.
I want to say that it was made by Square, but it was very much like like an old school. It kind of had like a Kingdom Hearts feel to it. It wasn't High Score Weekly. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it was a turn-based game, but it's been so long. It might be a turn-based game. It might be much more Final Fantasy than like Kingdom Hearts. Which now that I say that, actually, I do think that's the case. But here's this little ninja, and you're going around saving the world. And
I love that.
But I remember specifically with that game. So the kid next door's name was Brandon. He's still with us. And he was a year older than me. Okay, High School Weekly says it's not turn-based. Okay, great. So I should have gone with my instinct. And he was a year older than me. And I just, I was like, I would have been 6 or 7, probably 7 around this time, maybe 8. And we were playing Brave Fencer Musashi. I wanted it to sound cool. I wanted it to seem cool. So I was like, oh yeah, no, I've beat this game before. I actually beat it like in one night before. And so he's like, oh, great. So that I can like ask you for help when I get to, I was like, yeah, for sure. Like anything that you need help with, let me know. And we'd get to like any moment in the game. And he'd be like, so I'm stuck. What do I do here? I'm like, I kind of don't remember this part specifically. And I just like kept having to like lie my way out, having never heard of this game, but I wanted to be cool. And then we played through the whole game. And by the end of it, like he knew it wasn't until years later that he called me out. Like, I knew you were lying, but he gave me grace. He did not call me out in the moment. As much. He probably did a little bit, but I just remember like, so he was kind of my gateway into PlayStation in general. PlayStation 1 and 2, all of my initial interactions with the consoles were with him. But I also, yeah, for sure. And like Twisted Metal, Crash Bandicoot, like all of kind of the classics of the PS1 era we played too. I also have really vivid memories of the Star Wars games on PS1, specifically, Masters of Terrascasi, which was like a fighting game, and then Jedi Power Battles, which was like an episode 1, like side-scrolling brawler, essentially. Yeah. But I remember it being the first game, for me at least, that you could play as a Jedi. So it's like, oh, how cool. You're fucking Qui-Gon Jinn. You're fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi going through Naboo with a lightsaber. Oh, it didn't get better than that. So neither of you had a PS1. Any PS1 memories, though? Like, were you just way too young to even really interact with the console?
Yeah, my cousins had a PlayStation 1. I wasn't super into video games at the time. My first Sony console was the PlayStation 2. Is the era that I became like a PlayStation stan. I kind of had a similar experience to you. My first console ever was a GameCube, and that is my ride or die, my holy grail, my little baby. So I did have that, and I was never like a one console only, like, and still really like I'm fine with playing like whatever like games are on the console that I want to play at the time. So like I also had an Xbox 360. I had like those several different consoles, but I always I kept my PlayStation 2 for a long time. So I was playing like titles as long as they were released on that, like for as long as possible. So no distinct PlayStation 1 memories.
Well, let's talk about PS2. You started us off a little bit. So what are some of those games that you remember playing until the console died, essentially?
Well, I was doing a little bit of research because I wanted to be able to talk about my personal favorite console era, which was the PlayStation 2, mainly for nostalgic reasons. Like, it's just, I have so many memories, like me and my brother playing, and like, it's just a really good time. It was produced from 2000 to 2013. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
A really big reason why is Brazil specifically. The FIFA games kept selling. And so they were like, people are still buying it. And like, there's this unfortunate thing in a lot of countries where PlayStation consoles are just so much more expensive than they are in like America or Japan or Europe. And Brazil is one of them, where like getting back, like I remember I coached soccer for years and years and years, and one of my players was an exchange student from Brazil, and he was telling me like, I think at that time it would have been PS3 era. He was like, a PS3 right now is like $1,400. Like it's so absurd. And so he's like, we all still play PS2 and we still play FIFA, and they still release FIFA. And the last game I think ever released on a PS2 was whatever was the latest FIFA that year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense when you explain it that way. But like my when I'm thinking like first party titles, like Ape Escape was my shit, man. I loved Ape Escape. It is so quirky and like silly. And I played the second one and the third one on PS2. That was kind of like mine and my brother's thing that we played. Another one that I really enjoyed was did either of you play the Rampage Total Destruction?
No.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Goes hard. It goes so hard. Which Rampage is like a pretty well known like franchise, right? It's not just like is that the only game? I feel like other games came out.
So Rampage back in the day. So I played Rampage on the N64.
It
was big in arcades. Rampage was a game where you would play as like a kaiju. Essentially, you could choose between like a Godzilla, you could choose between a King Kong, and there was a third like animal. I can't remember what it was, but you would just destroy a city. Essentially,
that's
like
awesome.
a side-scrolling game. High Score Weekly. It was huge in arcades. And a few years ago, they tried to bring it back in the form of a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film. There's a film.
Oh my god! I know this
on the old Rampage games.
No way.
And the three like big kaiju.
I didn't watch it
in that movie, or the three like original kaiju. In the I think a rat was the third one or something like that. I played so much Rampage as a kid.
Yeah, I absolutely loved I played it on GameCube, but then I also played it on PS2. The Rampage Total Destruction, and it absolutely was so much fun because you could also play co-op. So me and my brother would play, so we would both be playing as one and crawling up like buildings together, and like you could fight and things like that. Like,
man, I haven't thought about Rampage in so long. What a blast!
Wow.
I still have my game. Like I don't have a PlayStation 2 anymore. Mine like kaput, but I still have it. So it's downstairs. Otherwise I would show it. But yeah, and then Ape Escape, I kind of breezed over that a little bit, but it was hard too. Did either of you play Ape Escape?
Yeah, Ape Escape was so hard.
It was tough.
I don't think I ever played a PS2 Ape Escape. I think I only ever played them on the PS1. And so, there was only the one stick too. So, but it was, I remember being very difficult. Am I remembering correctly that Ape Escape is the reason that the DualShock exists?
It is. Yes.
No way.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah. Cause it basically, the concept is like you are, if I remember correctly, basically you're trying to collect these monkeys that have gotten like loose in like various different, like
the apes
worlds.
Have escaped, you see.
Yeah. And there was some rumors for a while that they were going to release another game, because I think there's Ape Escape 2 and 3, and I think they did like another spin-off or something like that.
I think there might have been one on like the PSP, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. I actually didn't play it on the PSP. But yes, that's my experience with those two. Those are kind of my two biggest ones. Another couple other ones that obviously we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Specifically 3 is the one that I played.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Another one that was really great. You got to talk about the classic Guitar Hero.
Oh my god! I was just about to get there, Kayla.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Maury. I stole it from you.
It's amazing. No, do it. Which one?
Guitar Hero. So the one that I played a lot of was 3, Legends of Rock.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
Slash and the hairband.
God, I played so much Guitar Hero.
So much, an ungodly amount.
Ungodly amount of Guitar Hero.
So good.
Yeah. So good.
I can never figure out the 5th button. Like the one that you gotta like reach with your. I can never figure it out. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I wasn't built like that. It's a shame.
You just had to practice a little more.
Yeah.
No, I tried. I knew it was done.
I bet today, because I mean, back in you were a little one back then. I bet today with those big hands you got now, you could get that key so easy. Come on.
Yeah. You know a lot about my big hands, Patty.
Oh, I do. God.
But did you guys? Okay, this is kind of not to derail, but did you guys see the? I had on my Nintendo DS. I actually played Guitar Hero with the little plug-in.
World Tour.
Yeah.
I played the hell out of World Tour. What?
I didn't. I never did.
That's awesome. And you would use the stylus was like a pin. They made a pin that would go with it, and you would like swipe on the screen while pushing in the button. It was so cool, bro.
That's so funny.
Hard. That was a little derailed, but
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, it came with like it had the little buttons. You plugged it into like the cartridge like area thing, and then you played on it like your little buttons, and you had a little like pick stylus thing.
That's awesome.
It was
Anyways.
that generation, like that time period. It was so crazy how innovative people would get. Like
Oh,
you
for
look
sure.
at the fact that they were using the Game Boy slot for that, so that you could
Mhm.
play Guitar Hero on a DS is wild. This
Yeah.
is not Nintendo's 30th
Yeah.
anniversary, so I'm going to shut up. But
Yeah, me too.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
I want to bring in someone from the audience that wrote in. So I put on our Instagram, like I always do. Follow us on Instagram at Spotlight Games Pod for these, whatever the kind of main topic we're going to discuss. Throw out a little question, get some feedback from the audience. Gregaman X said for him, it's the PS1 easily. He said Resident Evil, Crash Bandicoot, Twisted Metal, RPGs galore. And the reason I wanted to bring this in now, the last thing he says is games took more risks then. I think so too. And I think that is a perfect example of that, of like somehow making a DS a Guitar Hero controller.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Gaming has gotten so expensive that people don't take risks as much anymore because
No.
they don't want to lose money because
Yeah.
everything is just about increasing the fucking profit margin.
Yeah. And like, for example, even with like Guitar Hero, right? Like I also feel like back then you would almost be more willing to buy like accessories too.
Yeah.
So like I'm trying to think of other games like on the PlayStation consoles throughout the years that where you could do something like that, where you had like the plugins. Like the
I mean, you look at like
guitar.
the PSVR, like that shit just won't sell because you
Yeah.
have to have the PS5 for it. So it's essentially just a peripheral. It's an accessory to the PlayStation 5 that costs $500. Like, it's silly.
Yeah, I remember like hooking up the different guitars, and like it was just such a fun family memory too, because like we would just play the shit out of some Guitar Hero. So that's kind of like my main favorite titles from. I have so many from the PlayStation 2. Another one, like
sure.
I have to plug my Star Wars game. I'm a big Star Wars fan that I loved from PlayStation 2 era was Battlefront 2.
Dude, she's robbed everyone.
All right, Maury, get in here. Get in here, Maury.
Start
chiming in.
That's my last one. It's your time to shine.
No. Kayla, I just want to say, Kayla has the bangers, bro. She has
thank
all
you.
of the bangers. Like, because
All
Guitar
bangers,
Hero
no
3,
skips.
all bangers, no skips. Because the only
No
two games
skips.
I picked were Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock.
Hell yeah.
What a life-changing experience that was. And the other thing was, ironically enough, Kayla, I cut you off way too soon because you said Battlefront 2. I couldn't stand Battlefront 2.
Really?
I loved the first Battlefront though.
Okay. I love the first one too.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was like I don't know if it was the map design. I don't know what it was, but something about 2 didn't click with me. Maybe it was like, I think they had jetpack troopers in 1. It was harder to get into. Something.
2, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe 1, you couldn't play as Jedi and Sith, but you could in 2. And then the whole meta became like, especially online, it was just the heroes mode on Yavin 4 or whatever, where it's like, that's the only thing that existed online at that point. And so it kind of became a whole different thing because of that mode.
See, because now that you're saying it, that makes so much more sense. Because when I would play Battlefront 1, I didn't remember any heroes and villains. And that may have been what turned me off the 2. Ironically enough, when they did the reboot of it in 2015, the only thing me and my 2 best friends played was Heroes vs. Villains.
Yeah.
It was so good. But for me, I'm right there with Kayla, bro. Guitar Hero 3 and the Battlefront games, nostalgic. Like, dude, take me back. Oh, so good.
I know. Like I would love, it wouldn't work today, but I would love for like Rock Band to get one more shot.
Yeah.
Like they've tried bringing back Guitar Hero. It just like didn't work, but just like, let's just try it one more time and just do a remake. Just do Legends of Rock again. I know that's a licensing nightmare, but get the fucking plastic Gibson, the black Gibson again, like hit Splash again, like just
and
do
make
it
the
again.
buttons right. Make the buttons right. When they did the reboot, they did that stupid like 3 buttons on top of 3 buttons.
Literally
Stop it.
do the exact same thing again.
Exactly.
I think that's your best shot. Jake does make a good point in the chat. Rock Band has its shot. It lives in Fortnite Festival. I did forget about that big at Fortnite Festival because he has played all of Shrek in that game somehow.
Yes.
But Maury, any other PS2 memories for you before I share some of mine?
Dude, it was so the PS2 for me was like, it was the bargain item that we got for Christmas one year. Like it was after the PS2's generation was long gone. And so we weren't really getting any like big titles unless it was a Star Wars title. The only games we really had were like some old NASCAR games, some old Madden games, and then like Battlefront and Guitar Hero. So I don't really have too much in my PS2 catalog that was that impressive. Yeah.
So for me, similar to PS1, next door neighbor Brandon, I just remembered another like cute aspect of this relationship was that was his grandparents' house. I won't, I'm not going to release his full government name or anything like that. But so he would only come by every now and then. He would come by like in the summer more often, but then like during the school year, maybe once every like 3 months. And so like Saturday night, Brandon's here. He come knock on the door before cell phones, so it was always a surprise whether or not Brandon was going to be over next door.
A lot of time.
And his grandpa, who he'd be staying with, is the one that owned the PS2, and he would buy games that he thought we would like, and then he would watch us play because he was a little too old to play. He like wanted to play every now and then. He'd get on the sticks, but he was like in his 60s or 70s then, so like it was just a bit too complicated for him. But he would get a lot of like, he was really into like swords and like fantasy. So he would get a lot of like Uso style games. So like Kessen or like Dynasty Warriors, like those types of games, which neither of us really vibed with. But then like the hits, the Devil May Cry franchise, like we played so much Devil May Cry. We played a lot of Grand Theft Auto, and like the grandpa loved just us driving around, just causing mayhem. Like it was awesome. Always, it was very cute. And before we would play, he would always get like scratch offs. We could all scratch offs together before we would play PS2.
Wow.
But and so
gambling and
I know, right?
Stealing cars.
Right.
I'd love to see.
What a bad influence. But so very limited at the beginning of the PlayStation 2's life cycle. Played a little bit of Final Fantasy on the PS2 then, but it wasn't until high school. So this would have been 6-7 years later, where like the 360's out, the PS3 is out. I borrow a PS2 from a friend now that he's got whatever new console. And that's when I really started my PlayStation journey kind of in earnest. I didn't realize it then because it wasn't until I got into college that I bought my own PS3. And, we'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. But that's when I played both Kingdom Hearts games. That's when I played Final Fantasy X. Like, that's when I played so many of the, like, tentpole PlayStation exclusives from back in the day. Shadow of the Colossus. Like, these games that are, like, have such reverence now. So many of them, like, already remade, like, because they're such a big deal. So that was when PS2 started to really matter to me during, like, the Wii 360 era. Because, during the PS2 time, it was just like a thing I got to play every so often.
Yeah.
So certainly it's one that I have not a very strong connection to because I didn't play it as it came out.
Makes sense.
PS3 though. So any last thoughts on PS2 before we jump to PS3?
No, it's just my sweet baby child.
So PS3, this was the first one that I bought myself. So
nice.
Because we were an Xbox family and a Nintendo family, like got the Wii when it came out, got the 360. Me and my brothers all shared, but then they were all off to college. I was alone, being the youngest of all my siblings.
Aww.
And I'm in college and I'm like, let's try out this PlayStation 3 thing. I got one on eBay for like 150 and I got the fat one so that I could play backwards compatibility. Like I wanted to play Hitman 2. I wanted to play Kingdom Hearts again, like that kind of stuff. So I bought it on eBay and I went to a GameStop. Actually, I didn't go to a GameStop. I went to a store that is no longer around called Play and Trade, which was like a local, like, they did comics, but they did a lot of like really old games, like SNES and NES, that kind of stuff. And I was like roaming the aisles and I was like, you know what? I don't know what any of these games are. So I just like Google best PS3 games, come across a thing called IGN. I see a thing called a podcast. I was like, what the fuck's a podcast? That's how I was introduced to Podcast Beyond, which is basically which Maury and
that's so cool.
Wow. And so I was like, oh, Uncharted, oh, Demon Souls, and like all of these games I'd never heard of. And I'm looking on the shelf in Play and Trade for each of them like $5 or $10 because this was pretty late in the PS3's generation that I got it, like after it was $599 US. And so that was like when I really became a PlayStation kid. Was in college. I would have been 19-ish, 18-ish, just going through like all the hits. Infamous, fucking funnily enough, that was, I think I've talked about this on the show before. The very first Metal Gear Solid I ever played was 4 because that had a 10 out of 10 on IGN. And I was like, what the fuck is this game? I don't understand anything that's happening because that in the timeline is the last game. And so,
that's so funny.
I played that to completion first. And then I circled back and played 1, 2, 3, Peace Walker, all those. So I had such a weird like relationship with the PS3, but that's where I fell in love with the console. And obviously The Last of Us. I mean, that changed my life. The Walking Dead season 1 by Telltale.
Yep.
Journey. Also Uncharted 3, my favorite Uncharted.
Mhm.
Just so many fucking bangers on the PS3. I kind of feel like PS3 is my favorite. And I think it's because it's like my real first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maury,
Yeah.
what about you though? Yeah, I know PS3, some of the games I just said activated you, Infamous being one of them. Talk to me about your time with PS3.
Of course. So my experience with the PS3 is bizarre. So the way I really got into video games was through the 360 because I went to my friend Austin's house
Shout out
we
Austin.
played it. Yeah, dude, shout out Austin. And we played
We love to see it.
an ungodly amount of Halo Reach. Kayla, an ungodly amount of Halo Reach.
Reach.
One of the greatest games ever made, okay? And so I went home and I told my mom and dad, this is in 2011, okay? It's 2 years before it's even done. Up until this point, I've had a PS2 and a Wii. Like, I need a 360.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Birthday, Christmas for the next 5 years, I don't care. This thing was like $150. Like, there was no reason I should have been bargaining that. But I didn't understand. Yeah, at the time, I didn't understand the value of $1. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all I know is I have to play Halo Reach now.
Yeah.
So I get the 360. Everything with the Xbox One and the PS4 life cycle starts up, and we'll talk about Shuhei at some point. But basically, right, they put out that ad where Shuhei hands Adam the game, and I'm like, I guess I'm not buying an Xbox One, so I bought a PS4. So PS4 was my real introduction to the PlayStation family. Then a few years after that, I go back and I buy a PS3 because I'm like, dude, there's all these games that I'm loving now, and I have no idea how I got here. Infamous Second Son, I adored. Didn't know how I got there. Dude, so good and very slept on. So, I mean, I'm 16, 17 years old. I go and I buy a PS3 and I play every single game that I ever wanted to for the most part. So now that I've given you the lore drop.
Lore drop. Let's
Infamous
go.
2, baby. Infamous 2. All right. Hey, give me Infamous 2 any day of the week. I love
the
Sucker Punch.
merch.
Dude, this is from when they originally promoted the title at like PAX East in 2010.
No way.
Wow.
I spent an ungodly amount of money to get this shirt. It's like a nostalgic item. So cool as hell. I love Infamous 2. The God of War games, like a lot of people look at the new God of War games. They're like, they're so much better because of the story. I'm like, you have no idea how deep the story is of those games. Like a man who refuses to lose, needs revenge, can't just take a loss. That will transform someone's life. It transformed mine. So the old God of War games, bangers. If you don't know, I love Killzone. You may not be able to see my helmet right here, but
there it is.
Love Killzone. Give me Killzone on a platter, okay? Any first-party Sony title from the PS3 generation is amazing, and I think what I'll say on behalf of the PS3 is the output of that period of time is actually unfathomable. You look at the fact that you have 3 Uncharted games coming out and The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 games from Sucker Punch coming out. Like now we're at a point where it feels like maybe these developers get 1 game out of generation. That was a completely different time. You have 3
100%.
Resistance games. 3 Resistance games and all the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And that doesn't even bring into like third party stuff like John in the chat, Fallout. Like I feel like so many people, and I don't think they're totally wrong for this, but I feel like so many people are like the PS2 just had so many games. And it did. But I feel like people kind of forget how much was fucking on the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation. Also partially because of how long it went, but like there's so, and I feel like that too, so many of the franchises that started in the PS1 and PS2 era, for the most part, are now dead. A lot of them are kind of coming back in ways like, Crash Bandicoot is always trying to come back, like that kind of thing. Yeah. But so many of the ones today, I feel, that started at PS3 are still going strong. Yes. PS4 has some like, Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima. Like there are ones that certainly are still kind of newer in the grand scheme, but PS3 has a lot of fucking bangers.
Yes.
And I'm glad you said that. Kayla, what about you? What stands out for you in the PS3 generation?
Well, I actually didn't own a PlayStation 3. I skipped a generation because, like we've been kind of talking about, I did have a Xbox 360 during this era. And that is what I primarily played everything on. So like while I was doing some research for the show about like my personal gaming experience through the years, a lot of the games we've even talked about that are not like first party titles, I actually played on 360 as opposed to the PlayStation.
For sure.
And that's just really kind of like the era that I was in. We didn't have a ton of money growing up, so it was basically whatever we could get secondhand, and I rented a lot of games actually from my local movie gallery. That was my local game rental
I know
place.
Movie Gallery.
Yeah. So that's kind of, this era kind of skipped me. Not to say that I missed these games though, because when I got my PlayStation 4, which we'll talk about later, I did play some back titles.
Cool.
For sure. Especially like, I mean, I have to talk about The Last of Us since I'm on the show. Absolutely, I do. But I did not play that until later on, which we'll talk about. But no, the PlayStation 3 era did kind of miss me just because I was playing other consoles at the time. So
that makes sense. And Jake, a little bit ago in the chat, made a good point. Like when PS3 launched, he says it was the first console generation where I had to pony up myself. PS3 hurt the wallet. $600 was no joke. That might as well have been $2,000 then.
Yeah,
that was honestly the main reason that I kind of wasn't able to get into PlayStation. Like you said, Kayla, like didn't have a ton of money growing up. One of 5 children. Like that, my parents had to spread that wealth among 5 of us. So we were normally late to getting consoles ourselves too. And there was just no way that I could convince them to get me something that's $600. Like it would have been.
You had to share with your siblings. Like we only had one sibling growing up, but we had to share, like we had to take turns. Like the consoles are what taught us to like get along basically. We had to like swindle each other. Thankfully a lot of times we liked the same games, so we would just like pass back and forth. But
the amount of times that it'd be like, you go to mom, hey, Andrew's been playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for 2 hours. Dude. Can I play now?
Yeah.
Well, did you ask Andrew? Yeah, and he said, eat a sock or whatever. He's like, okay, well now I have to go to bed. Great.
Yeah, great.
For sure. So PS4. Let's move on to PS4. So that was, even though I was saying like PS3 was kind of what really got me in, PS4 was my first launch day.
Yes. Same. Awesome.
2015. I remember it vividly. Got it from Amazon, just like constantly. I don't know that. I'm sure it was an app by that point, but it might have just been desktop. I'm just like refreshing. It says it's out for delivery. When's it coming? I lived in an apartment complex then. Shit got lost all the time. One of the most stressful days of my life. Just like waiting to see, is it going to come in? Got it with Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and one other that I'm forgetting right now, but just immediately like 12 hours straight. The second, and like in awe, complete awe about graphically and just like in general. I can't believe I have a PS4 in my hands. Like such a good time. Maury, let's start with you though, because we've all kind of gotten to steal a lot from you. Then you said this is your first day one as well. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I'll say technically day one. So this I would have been 13 years old, and yet again I went to bargain my soul with my mother, and I just said, hey, look, here's the deal. I listen to Podcast Beyond every week. All right. They're talking about this new console. The Xbox, I don't want anything to do with it. It's going to watch us in our home. You know what I mean? Through the Kinect. Right. And I'm like, I so desperately want a PS4. It's like $400. I don't know if that's even possible. Like, is there any shot? And I just like threw it at the wall as hard as I could and just prayed. And my mother and father and their deep graciousness like made that happen for me at Christmas. And my biggest like asterisk next to it was, and it has to be mine. It cannot be the family's PS4. It can't be Sam and my PS4 because I'm not arguing one more day to get 2 hours from him. Like I just, if I get it, I just want it to be my own, which was a crazy pitch as well at 13. But again, my parents, they were so gracious, and they really,
Sharks today.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, that was what it was, bro. I brought a PowerPoint before them. Like, this is how it's going to improve my life, my grades. And so I got it that Christmas, but it was purchased on launch day. My mother would have gone and sat in a Best Buy for how many hours trying to get it. Games that really stick out to me from that generation. I'm going to say Infamous Second Son. That was my first PlayStation exclusive that I ever played. Ironically, like chronologically, that was my first PlayStation exclusive I'd ever played, which is crazy. But at the same time, it's like I was 14. Like,
sure.
Yeah,
it makes sense. So Infamous Second Son was the first PlayStation exclusive I ever played, and I played it into the ground. Got the platinum trophy on my old account. Like, just did everything. Like, just put it into the ground. Loved that title. Loved Delson Rowe's story. Loved everything. It was great. God of War 2018 changed my life. Helped me understand like my father better. Like everything. Like God of War 2018 is maybe the most integral piece of art to my entire existence. Like God of War 2018 is on a pedestal above everything else. And lastly, I will say, and we're gonna talk about this at some point, maybe now, right? Was Bloodborne.
Oh, sure. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I'll say this first and foremost. When it came out, I had it pre-ordered. My best friend Aaron at the time, we went to middle school together, and we were in high school at this point. He was like, dude, you got to get this game. Dark Souls is awesome. I love Dark Souls. It was still niche back then. Souls games were not at the forefront. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I pre-order it. I get it. For the next, year of my life, every weekend, I'm at Aaron's house, and we're just grinding Bloodborne for 20 hours a weekend. Like, unfathomable, bro. Like, I loved every second of it. It changed my life. It was my beginning of a love for Soulsborne games, which is, like, a big thing for me. And, we obviously have wanted to see something done with Bloodborne for a long time. And, of course, PlayStation just plays with us, fondles us, and at the end of that trailer, what do they put? It's about persistence.
I mean, they end with Bloodborne on the 30th anniversary trailer. It's about persistence. The next, if we have time, we actually might run out of time tonight.
Yeah.
Elden Ring 2 apparently not going to happen, according to From Software.
Yeah.
Is it because Bloodborne's finally coming back?
This is okay. So allow me to expound. Right?
Expound.
Right now, you know the meme of the guy pointing at the wall and he looks tired and there's all the red lines.
Yeah.
This is me. This is me. Okay, with this little news drop. So you guys have heard the news that Sony is looking to purchase From Software's parent company, Katakawa.
Yeah.
Which is most known for their anime. So it has nothing to do with From Software. It has everything to do with the fact that Sony is trying to get more ground in the anime space.
Yeah.
Regardless, they then get From Software if they acquire Katakawa, which would be a huge pull. From Software is strange. They don't care how well their game did. They're not going to necessarily make a second one just because of that. Demon's Souls, when it came out on the PS3, was loved. It was loved. It was critically acclaimed. It sold pretty well, right? They didn't go and make Demon's Souls 2. They made Dark Souls, right? And Dark Souls is doing great. They make Dark Souls 2, and everyone loves it. And what are they? They're like, oh, let's make Bloodborne, right? And then Bloodborne's a hit, and everyone loves it. And they're like, okay, well, what now? Bloodborne 2, right? No, Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. Oh, Sekiro's a banger. Maybe we make another Sekiro. Nope, Elden Ring. So they have a long history of doing this. They like tone, they like atmosphere, and they like to change those things. And if you make a 2, right, it has to match the tone and atmosphere of the previous title. From is a little too creative to do that. I think they take like long breaks from stuff and then come back to it.
Sure.
They have taken a 10-year break from Bloodborne, and all that has happened is more love, more appreciation. And now Sony's in talks to buy Katakawa, and we have people at From Software saying they're not making Elden Ring 2. What do you think they're making? They have to be making Bloodborne 2. It has to be, Patrick. Patrick, comfort me. Tell me I'm not a madman.
You're not a madman. It's got to be Bloodborne. If it's not Bloodborne, maybe they go back to Sekiro, but maybe. It just, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, fuck, maybe they even do Demon's Souls too. I don't know, but I feel like at the absolute least, we are getting a Bloodborne re-release. Whether that's a remaster, a PS5 upgrade of the PS4 version, we're getting something Bloodborne. There's no way that they're just going to be like, fuck you, we're ending the 30th anniversary trailer with Bloodborne because we know you're going to fucking eat it up.
Right. There's no shots.
There's no way that they are that diabolical.
But they've done this to us all these years, Patrick. I've been a Bloodborne fan for 10 years. Remember in Astrobot when they put the Yarnum outfit in there? And then said, have fun, John.
YouTube went crazy when that happened. So yeah, no, I think it's happening. Yeah. But I think that also is a good kind of re-segue. I don't know that that's a word, but back into PS4 of like, I think something. So another topic we were going to talk about today is Shuhei Yoshida leaving PlayStation after 31 years. And I feel like PlayStation 4 is like the most notable Shuhei era, especially the beginning of the PlayStation 4. That's when, like you had mentioned it earlier, the famous when PlayStation 4, the way that you can share your games is just by, and they hand the game box from Adam Boyes to Shuhei Yoshida. PlayStation Vita, that was when the PlayStation persona was happening with Adam Boyes, with Jack Trenton, with Shuhei Yoshida. And he just, and Podcast Beyond, I think, was a big part of it too, of like making Shuhei this lovable character essentially. And, in the later years, like more recent years, moved away from being president of SIE into being, leading like independent stuff. And so, so he's leaving the company, which is like, for me, kind of like end of an era. Like all of those like old school faces of PlayStation are now gone. And with that, like so much of that legacy, I think it's interesting. It's like So like right now, we, last time Maury was on the show or 2 times ago, we talked about like what is happening at PlayStation, like what's 2025's PlayStation looking like, and now with Shuhei gone, it's kind of like what is happening at PlayStation. Like I'm very interested to see, but yeah. So all of that to say, PlayStation 4 goated. Kayla, what was your experience with PlayStation 4?
So this was the first console that I did by myself. It came out, you said 2015, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we said? That's the year I graduated high school. 2013?
Oh, you're right. It was 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
Well,
Because I was still in college. I wasn't in college in 2015.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't purchase it when it came out because I was still a little broke girl for sure. But I graduated in 2015 and I probably got the console around that time. I also, my husband is a big Batman fan. And so whenever we moved in together, we also inherited his Arkham Knight PS4 edition. That one.
Special edition. Love that.
Yeah, he had the special edition. So we had 2 PlayStations in our household. And I would be remiss without mentioning the Batman Arkham games are absolutely phenomenal. I played Arkham Knight on the PS4 and what was there one for that? I think it was Arkham City. I also played that one.
Arkham City was PS3.
Yeah. But I didn't play them until later on for sure. Yeah. But other things in the PS4 era, obviously we got to talk about The Last of Us, like absolutely 2 of my favorite games of all time. Yeah. I played the Last of Us remastered on the PlayStation 4, I believe on the 4 or something on 5. Can't remember.
That was on 4. The 4. Remaster was 4.
Yeah. And then they released Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation 4 and 5. I believe.
Yeah, it started with that was one of the very last. That and Ghost of Tsushima were like the very end of the PS4 generation, and then re-released it on PS5 a little bit later.
Yeah, so that I played the Last of Us later on. So like when it released the remastered version is when I got on board. When Jerica changed my life, not only as being my co-host, Jerica in spirit. That's when I started playing that, and absolutely incredible.
So. Have you, I don't know the JK Games lore. Had you played The Last of Us before starting JK Games, or was that something? Oh, that's
wow.
Cool.
No.
That's
yeah.
fun.
So no, I mean, it's like we've talked about, like it's one of my favorite games of all time, like favorite stories. And I had never played it before I met Jerica. And when we started talking, we created the podcast in 2019. And we started talking about like our favorite games of all time. And so she was sharing hers, I was sharing mine. And I was like, well, I have to play this if we're going to be co-hosts together. Like I've got to play it. But Jerica was like, you know what? Just wait. She was like, just wait. And the second game's coming out, just wait and play it. And so this is something we joke about now, that she gets me on board to things like right before the successor comes out. And so we did the same thing with Arcane. So like, oh, Maury is getting emotional.
He's gone.
So I played that literally right before Part 2 came out is when I played the first one. And so I got to back it up. Yeah. So I did not have to wait, which is nice. And so I played it like right back up against when Part 2 came out.
Amazing.
Like literally like a few days later I started playing it. So that's kind of my background on that.
Yeah, I feel like overall, I might have already said PS3 was my favorite. I do feel like I kind of lean PS4 just because that was all like, again, day one. And that there's just so much good shit. And that was like
Horizon.
Also, Horizon, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, like there's so many incredible games on PS4. And that was also a lot. Like that's when they really started doing the remaster situation. That was bringing PS3 games to PS4 with a new coat of paint, that kind of thing. Yeah. And that brings us to the PS5, which, out now, by now.
Tough cookie to get a hold of, let me tell you.
At the beginning, I was so lucky.
Honestly, sometimes.
Yeah,
I guess
you're
now
right.
It's fine.
You're right. I was very lucky. Wario64 on Twitter, I was following him religiously because I knew that it was going to be hard to get. And I got mine through Target, and I got very lucky to get it day one. Because like my brother-in-law, it took him like 7 months to finally get one. Like it was so difficult to get a hold of. I hope that doesn't happen again with the next PlayStation. And
I hope not.
I hope not. But overall, like I don't know. I feel like while I'm really enjoying and loving my PS5 because we're in the thick of it, I don't have a ton to say about it. Other than like, it's kind of and also like it's not been the best generation so far for PlayStation. Like they've released some bangers, but it's been a lot of kind of retreading old ground. It's been a lot of both Last of Us is again being re-released, which like Kayla, my favorite franchise, but like where's the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I would agree. Except didn't it launch with Spider-Man Miles Morales?
It did.
That was a pretty great title.
Yes.
I did
Really
love that
good.
game. It was a little shorter, but like it's still a banger. I loved that one. I would be remiss to also not mention Bug Snacks, one of the best titles.
Oh, sure.
Talking
Talking about Bug Snacks.
It did launch with Bug Snacks. Have you guys played Bug Snacks?
I played part of Bug Snacks.
I played a little.
I've always meant to go back to Bug Snacks, but I got distracted at the beginning of the generation and I never went back, but I need to go back.
Surprisingly very heartfelt story. It's really good.
Yeah.
And they've done like little updates here and there, but it launched with that. So I had to mention it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Game.
I think something worth mentioning about PS5 though, even though, I've said I'm not as high on this generation yet. It's been really good for indie stuff. And that's something that I think PlayStation has always been very good about, but they've not lost that with the PlayStation 5 generation. And, Shuhei Yoshida probably a big part of that with, being the head of the independent development initiative or whatever it was called. But yeah, I don't know. Like when I think about standout PS5 specific games, because also so many games up until this point have been, released on both 4 and 5. It wasn't until like a year and a half ago where things kind of stopped being released on the PS4. Like Forbidden West, I think was maybe one of the first ones on the PS5 side that didn't release on PS4.
Nope.
Did Ragnarok release on both?
Ragnarok did not release on PS4, or did it?
It did.
It did. Yeah.
Did? Okay.
Thanks for keeping me honest, Maury. But yeah, what stands out for y'all for PS5, Maury? What let's start with you.
Yeah, man. I think I agree with you. It feels like a lighter generation already. And I don't know why, because I just looked up a list of all of the PS5 exclusives that have come out. And I think I've heard them say this a lot on Kind of Funny as well. When you go through the list, it's pretty absurd. It doesn't feel as potent though, and I'll explain why. Like I think when you look at those bigger titles, like a Spider-Man 2, for instance, Spider-Man 2 was good, but it was an 8. Sure. It didn't hit with me as hard as like God of War Ragnarok or sorry, God of War 2018 or Bloodborne or whatever else. I don't know. I think so far, I think Astrobot sticks out heavy. I was going to say Concord, but I really can't say Concord anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
It just feels like there's so many missteps. It's like, what are we doing? The fact that like we're probably not going to get a game from Naughty Dog this generation. Like, I don't see it happening. That's shocking.
Sure.
That's crazy. Like they're going to skip a whole generation because of everything that happened with their live service title. So I guess I'd say Astrobot and God of War Ragnarok. And also I'm going to show a little bit of love, even though I could never beat the game. So innovative, so amazing. Returnal. Like
Returnal's really good.
Yeah. So
I didn't beat it either.
Yeah, dude, because who can? We're normal people. We're not sweats. We don't live in our chairs. Our rooms don't smell crazy. What?
Yeah, I said I did not beat it either.
I was going to say, because I said all this shit about people that did beat it, so I was like, I hope Kayla didn't just say she beat it.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't know. That's
I do think Astrobot is like by far the best PS5 exclusive so far. I think it's funny. I need to replay Ragnarok.
It's good.
But I feel like the further I get away from Ragnarok, the cooler I get on the game, because I was so high on it, like when it launched. But I've tried going back to it and wasn't able to get very far on a second playthrough. And I've played God of War 2018 like I think 3 times. Like I played it twice on PS4, and then I played it on my Steam Deck when I got my Steam Deck as well. And I just don't feel that pull to go back to Ragnarok. And I don't know what it is about it, because, in a way, like it improves on everything for the most part in the game, but there's just something about it I can't quite put my finger on that I don't think has the lasting power of 2018 for me.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think it also has a slow start. Like just the game itself has a slow start. I also think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. I think the same reason that From Software doesn't want to make an Elden Ring 2 right now is the same reason why maybe you're not as high on Ragnarok as you were on 2018.
Sure.
Because it's just an extension of all the things you love. There's not a ton of innovation. It's the same thing.
For sure.
More of it. I don't know.
No, I think that's a really good point. Because there isn't a ton of innovation with Ragnarok. I mean, there's the spear, which is awesome.
So good.
So good. The spear is so good.
Oh.
But yeah, I think I was expecting as big a leap from Ascension to God of War 2018 as 2018 to Ragnarok, which is so unfair. Like,
but I get it. More innovation would have helped that, transition, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I know, it makes sense why they didn't want to do a trilogy either, because trying to do that a second time, like after
Yeah.
Ragnarok. Yeah. But yeah, I'm interested to see, 3, 4, 5 years from now when the PS6 is out or about to come out, if our tune will change at all on PS5. Because right now, like I didn't ask you guys to prepare for this, so I can't like take a second if you need to, but like if I were to rank them, all of the main consoles, so not including PSP, Vita, PS5, I think would actually be kind of low for me. I would put PS1 at the lowest rank, mostly because I just didn't play enough of it. But I think I would then do PS5, then PS2, then PS3, then PS4. I think I would go that way, going up from 5 to 1.
Yeah.
I might flip 3 and 4. I'm kind of flip-flopping on 3 and 4, but the current generation being the fourth best or worst generation, I'm a little surprised by that.
Yep.
Jake in the chat says 2, 3, 4, 1, 5 for him. So he has it as the worst of the generation.
I think I would probably say like obviously like I did not play 1 or 3 really, so I think mine would probably be 2, 4, 5, 3, and then 1.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Hell yeah.
I think mine is probably 4, 3, 5, 2, 1, because I didn't play enough of the PS2 to really give it a fair shake. But like regardless, that being 3 on my list, you look at the difference of how much Sony had acquired during the PS3 generation compared to the PS5 generation, there's really no reason for the 5 to be at the 3 spot for me.
For sure.
There's really not. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let us know. Actually, no, a few people did. I've only shared one response. I'm so bad about this. I do this every time where I forget to actually bring in the responses. So I've already shared Gregor Man X's. We got Nickery John said PS1, his standouts were Final Fantasy 9, PS2, Kingdom Hearts 2, PS3, Uncharted 2, PS4, God of War. This it's starting to rhyme, folks. PS5, Persona 5, Royale.
Wow.
Or Royal, rather. But he said overall his favorite era was PS2. Just felt like there was so much to choose from. And then our sweet cognitive clip says PS4 era was something special. Rocked that Destiny alpha, beta, and full version.
Same.
Good point.
Same.
You guys might have squatted up and he didn't realize it.
Crazy.
And then High Score Weekly also dropping their ranking in the chat. 4, 1, 3, 2, 5. I respect it.
Wow.
I'm
sad that 2 is at the bottom, but hey, that's fine.
I bet, that's fair. I bet if I owned a PS1, it would be higher. I could see 5 being my lowest ranked console.
Sure.
Right now, if I had owned a one back in the day.
One thing I did forget to mention that I need to make sure I mention is the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are also like Jedi Survivor launched on PS5. And while I didn't enjoy that one as much as I did Jedi Fallen Order, which released on PS4, I did still really enjoy it. I feel like it is worth mentioning for PS5. I can't remember if it only launched on PS5 or if it also, I think it probably was a split one.
Survivor, I think was, I don't remember actually.
It was only PS5, but then they made a PS4 version and released it like a year after.
Got
Interesting.
Boom. Look at you. Our little fountain of knowledge.
Wow.
Fountain of youth. He's the fountain moving forward.
The fountain. GWC more.
Fountain of youth.
If you didn't already write in, let us know. What's your favorite PlayStation memory, favorite console, favorite games from the consoles, all the things. Let us know in the comments. Let us know. Mail at spotlightgames.net. A really quick spotlight for this week, because we're running a little long. We've already kind of talked about the Elden Ring 2 topic, but a few just quick hit news stories before we go on our way. December's PS Plus titles are available. Go download those. We got a Game of the Year, former Game of the Year winner, It Takes Two, Aliens Dark Descent, and Temtem, which is basically Pokemon. Nice. Apparently, Switch 2 accessories have been leaked and are starting to sell on Alibaba. So if you want to go maybe get some Switch 2 cases, they're available.
Love that. So exciting.
Yeah.
PlayStation seems to be going more into AI. They said AI can revolutionize gaming, but, quote, it won't replace the human touch. I don't know.
Interesting.
Sounds like it's going to replace the human touch.
Yeah.
I think it might one day eventually replace
we talked about it a few weeks ago. More sources are starting to back what we covered, that PlayStation's reported new handheld is in development.
So exciting.
Someone earlier, that just clicked for me. Someone in the chat mentioned, asked a question about the PlayStation Portable. I forget what it was, but I believe it. I believe the gospel that we're getting a new PlayStation Portable.
Yeah. I'm so down.
And then this can be a quick conversation too, because both of you like this genre. 5 new characters have been revealed for upcoming hero shooter Marvel Rivals. We're going to get Squirrel Girl, Black Widow, Cloak and Dagger, Iron Fist, and Wolverine. Are y'all hyped for
Yeah.
Rivals?
I was going to say, Kayla, we're playing together, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're playing. Yeah.
Come
We're
on,
dropping.
Free to
bro.
play launches Thursday?
Yes.
Question mark?
Yes.
I might be
The
getting into
6th.
that.
The
The
6th.
6th. Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will probably stream it on Thursday if anybody wants to squad up.
So wait,
Yeah.
is it coming out on Thursday night?
I don't know. But
I
whatever.
thought I saw that the 5th was the date. Is it the 6th?
Let me look.
Because now, no, because I think if it's the 6th, there's a chance it releases the night of the 5th, but I've not kept any tabs on this. The Fountain of Knowledge, the Fountain of Youth has been
Wow.
run dry.
Yeah.
Ripping
Run
that
dry.
title already.
Yeah, take it. I don't know. When does it come out?
I just see December 6th.
Damn
but
it. I hate that. I hate
Okay, Friday.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't have anything, okay, Jake says Thursday night, 7 p.m. EST, 000
course, Jake knows.
GMT
LF
Friday.
G brother, Kayla, I'll be there. I'll
Let's
be
go.
there. on,
So,
dog.
yeah,
go.
Thursday, Cog and I are streaming Animal Well, but I would like to play some Marvel Rivals with y'all if it's not on stream.
Do it.
We'll
baby.
probably be sweaty.
If you end up
Playing-
Yeah.
streaming
into the
Friday and I don't have
evening.
plans Friday, count me in.
Okay, cool. We'll coordinate.
Hell yeah. Well, that's our show, folks. It's a little late. We had a little bit of a late start. So thanks for being here. We got a
Yeah.
strong chat still here. We'll be back, like I said, tomorrow night streaming something. Me and Rose. Rose is going to be sitting right here. It might be Luma Island. Thursday, we're going to be doing some Animal Well, 8 p.m. with Cog. And then maybe, who knows, maybe a little Marvel Rivals. If not this week, then next week.
See.
But thanks for being here. Folks, Kayla, they want to follow you. They want to know where they can find you on the internet. Tell them where they can.
You can find me at JK Games Podcast on all social platforms. We go live on Mondays, typically 8 or 8:30 Central, so 9 or 9:30 Eastern. Time zones, Maury. We got it. We can do it.
Come
Love
on.
it.
I'm figuring it out.
That's where you can find me mainly. You can also, if you're interested in books and reviews of that nature, I also really love to read. You can find me at Palettes and Pages on Instagram and YouTube.
Hell yeah. The gamble worth taking. Where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at GWT Maury. That's unfortunately Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
We need to get you on Blue Sky.
Yeah, I need to finally make my account because I'm tired of Twitter, bro.
Yeah,
like
I still get notifications when people like follow me or send me stuff. Cayman, if you're listening, you've sent me a lot of things on Twitter I need to go look at, but I've just not been on Twitter in like 4 weeks.
I get it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing though. I'm kind of also not getting on Blue Sky as much. So I'm just kind of like not getting as much gaming news and information as I used to. I need to be better about actually getting on Blue Sky, but I'm not. Threads tried, it didn't work. So I'm on the Blue Sky train. I just need to be better about being on the Blue Sky train.
So
yeah.
Can I ask a question, Kayla? Are you using Blue Sky enough to be able to speak to it?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I'm trying to make the move because like yikes. And our podcast does have a Blue Sky account that Jerica has made, but I have not really taken the leap and like done much with it. But I also don't do a ton with Twitter anymore either. So just kind of like in a limbo area.
I was only asking because I want to know if the algorithm on Blue Sky is great, but like that was it.
In my experience, I will say so far the algorithm doesn't give me a ton that isn't what I'm following.
Damn.
So I'm trying to follow more. Not to say that it's not giving me anything that I don't follow, but I can reach the end of the feed pretty fast on Blue Sky still.
Okay.
And maybe that's on me, but so far I've noted there are times where like I just don't scroll as much because I'm like, oh, I'm back to this post that I started at. But okay. We're going to Blue Sky. Follow me at Pshwissy. Follow the pod everywhere at Spotlight Games Pod. That's Blue Sky, that's Twitch, that's Threads, even though I don't really post there. That's TikTok. That's right here on Twitch. That's also YouTube. I said Twitch twice. Why not say it again? Twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. What a great show. Maury, Kayla, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having
Always
us.
love podcasting with either of you and to get you both at the same time.
Oh yeah, first time.
This was awesome. I've been waiting. I've been waiting in the chamber. I'm like, dude, when am I going to get to do a podcast with Kayla? I'm
We've
here.
done it. We've done it.
Yes, we did
the synergy, baby. We'll be back tomorrow night. Until then, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the subs, all the cheers, all the bits. What a beautiful night. I had a great time. I hope you did too. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.